Hello and welcome to today's video. This is the first video of a mini series that I'm doing to teach you exactly how you can go from a confused, creative, artistic business owner to a functioning, scaling enterprise within the music industry. And this is all centered around the module or the topic that I like to call the creative operator. So let's dive straight into this. My name is Gwethan. I am a music business consultant and growth operator. And I'm the founder of Hendrick. If you don't know who I am or what I do, essentially I have an online music business school. The link is in the description below. And yeah, we help artistic, creative people build businesses around their skills. So as I mentioned, this section is the creative operator, and this is where I like to start my clients. And of course, this is built on mindset, the mindset that turns creatives into business builders. So the core problem that creatives have is that most creatives struggle financially for one simple reason. They stay artists when they need to become operators. Being highly skilled does not automatically create a successful business. The people who systems around their skills, and this is the foundation of the creative operator framework. As you can see, there are so many operators, so many business owners out there that are just amazing at what they do. They're amazing at their craft, but they just haven't nailed the business side of things, and then that is where they bleed opportunity, that's where they bleed money, and that's where things fall short. And that's exactly what I'm preventing you from doing today. So step one is all about the artist to operator shift. Most creatives operate from an artist mindset. They focus on their craft, their expression, perfection, individual projects, whereas operators think differently. They focus on systems, leverage, execution, and long-term infrastructure. So an example right now is perfection. This is by far not the most perfect video structure. I don't feel well today, that's why my mind is slipping, but for me, I need to stay consistent. I need to get content out. So for me to get content out and for it to be good and for me to be able to educate people, I have to do it in a format that perhaps isn't ideal. This isn't the most aesthetically pleasing format, but it enables me to actually teach, and it enables me to have hard-hitting content. The artist mindset is all about project-focused, emotion-driven, and inconsistent output. And artists can be very reactive. Their feelings can determine what they get done on the day, which obviously should be the case for a lot of the time. But when you have a business to run, when you have money to make, when you have just the weight of the world on your shoulders, sometimes you have to keep pushing, and you have to not listen to in your head. Whereas the operator mindset is all centered around systems and being disciplined and having consistent output and ultimately being strategic. The goal is not to stop being creative. The goal is to wrap systems around creativity. The thing is, with creativity in business and creativity and discipline and all of this kind of stuff, you don't have to have one or the other. Both can coexist beautifully, and that's exactly what it is that I'm trying to drill into your mind. You see, you need to set your vision beyond surface goals. This is step two. Most creatives set weak goals. For example, they might just want more followers, more streams, more gigs, more projects, more money. But ultimately, these are just surface level outcomes. Operators design compounding systems. They build income systems, audience infrastructure, brand authority, long-term ecosystems. So the question shifts from what project am I working on to what machine am I building? You see, it's great to set goals. Like I'm a huge advocate of goals, and that's exactly what I teach my students and my clients. But you can't just set a goal of wanting to make more money or a goal to have more followers. You have to say, okay, well, my goal is to build this system so that I can then feed it this level of input so that I can then get this level of output. You need to be far more specific so that you can actually bring these goals to life and make them tangible. Because if you just have wishy-washy goals, you're never really going to act on them, and perhaps you're never going to achieve them, which is not what I want to see, and I know it's not what you want to see either. I'm here for your success. I'm here for my students to build their dream lives, to build their dream businesses. And the last thing I want is to sell themselves short or to do themselves a disservice by just setting goals that just aren't, worthy of even setting. So, the 90-day execution principle. Creatives often drift between ideas, whereas operators work in focused execution cycles. A simple model is centered around setting your goals or just locking in or just having a 90-day period of achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve. So within this 90 days, you need to define the key objective for the next 3 months and break that down into weekly targets. Make that objective into measurable weekly progress. So perhaps you want to create a system that generates you £1,000 in the next 3 months. You break that down into weekly targets. So perhaps the first week would be creating the software. The second week would be creating the marketing campaign. The third week would be creating the content and running the ads. And then the fourth week could be generating your first £1. You have to break it down into step-by-step goals, because I find that I struggled with this hugely, right? Is I set huge goals, and I'm great at long-term planning, but then when it actually comes to taking the baby steps to achieve those goals, that's quite often where, unfortunately, I fall short. And then, of course, you need to set that into daily execution. You need to take small, consistent actions that compound. Operators do not rely on inspiration. They run execution systems. So when it comes to your energy levels and your weekly structure, creative burnout usually comes from chaotic work patterns. Operators create rhythm. They structure their week around deep creative work, business development, learning and growth, recovery and rest. And structure provides creativity. Without structure, creative output becomes inconsistent and unreliable. So let me just give you an example of where I've experienced this is with content. So for me, content has always been a difficult thing to be consistent with, right? Because if I don't set up some kind of system and I just post content as I make it, then soon enough I'll have 1 or 2 off days, and then I'll just fall off the bandwagon, and then I won't make content for weeks and weeks and weeks. And if I don't have some kind of structure to whatever task it is that I'm doing, it just doesn't get done. And that's exactly why I've made this kind of YouTube video, because I know that this structure and this system I can follow with low resistance, because it doesn't consume loads of time editing, because that's just not what I need to focus my time on right now. And it means that I can maximize value, and it means that I can actually sit down and educate people efficiently. Whereas for you, it could be setting aside an hour a day to create content. It could be setting aside an hour a day to solely work on your skills to then make more money in your business. It could be anything, but what I'm trying to say is you really need to systemize and structure what it is that you do, because that is how you build sustainable growth ultimately. And you want brutal clarity on your bottlenecks. So most founders misdiagnose their problems. They try to improve everything at once. Whereas operators identify the real constraint. Common bottlenecks for creative businesses are not a clear offer, weak positioning, no lead generation, a poor sales process, lack of systems. Operators constantly ask one question: what is the biggest bottleneck right now? Then they focus on solving that single constraint. So say for you, the biggest bottleneck that you have right now is cash flow, and you don't have money coming in, and that's causing you so much stress, that's causing you to freeze, that's causing you to unable to focus on work, and that's just taking up all of your bandwidth. Then what that says to you is that currently your biggest bottleneck is money. So what do? You focus on fixing that bottleneck. You focus on generating income ASAP. You do the tasks that make you money quickly. It's all about identifying what it is that's making you trip up, what it is that's consuming all of your brain power, that's completely frying your bandwidth, and then just quickly fixing that so that then you have the brain power and the focus to work on everything else that you're doing. Discipline and emotional control is huge. So many creatives rely on motivation, whereas operators rely on standards. They build daily habits, clear routines, personal discipline, and emotional regulation. Execution continues even when motivation disappears, and this is the difference between ideas and results. You see, motivation is beautiful and it can do great things, but unfortunately, on the days that motivation isn't there, you still need to work, you still need to push forward. And if you solely rely on motivation to get anything done, then I hate to break it to you, but you're just going to crash and burn. I've been there so many times, You only work when you feel motivated, you only create output, you only do creative things, or you only just do anything when you feel motivated, which when the motivation is there, yeah, that's fucking brilliant. But as soon as it fades, which it always does, then you're just left, just paralyzed, because you don't know what to do, because you've been relying on this thing that no longer exists. So what I'm saying is motivation is beautiful, but if you rely on it too much, then you're going to crash and burn. You need to build discipline, you need to build structure, you need to build habits. A book I recommend is Atomic Habits. It's amazing for building habits and systems within yourself. But yeah, just think about it. Motivation is beautiful, but it's not always there, and you really want to bear that in mind. So this video that I've walked you through is step 1 of the framework that I take my students through. Obviously, we go into way greater depth, and we really help them break down who they are and kind of analyze where they are, where they want to go, and we just completely rewire their brain to operate at an entrepreneur's level. But this is just kind of like a basic summary of what it is that we do within that step. If it's something you're interested in, hit the link in the description and apply to my school. But basically, the creative operator concept is the foundation layer of the broader system. Creative businesses grow through 4 stages, and this is the 4 stages that I've designed for my students. The creative operator, which is all about identity, focus, discipline, execution, and basically adjusting your minds to become an entrepreneur. The second stage is artist to earner, which is centered around turning your skills into profit. The third stage is build a business from scratch, where we basically build all of the systems, the structure, the tools, the templates, basically everything that you need to actually have an online business. And then finally, we go into scale and growth, which is all about expanding your audience, generating traffic, leverage, getting leads, getting sales, getting clients, making money, getting eyes on your business, and just basically taking the business that you've built and actually doing something with it, right? So without the creative operator mindset, all of these other steps cease to exist, because these are the foundations that you build the house upon. So the key takeaways from this video is that creative success is not about talent. It's about clarity, systems, discipline, and execution. And creativity creates opportunity, and operators turn opportunity into sustainable businesses. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about artist to earner, and that's where we're going to be exploring the more practical stage of this framework, and helping you identify what your skills are, what the world needs, what people are willing to pay for, and then figure out how you can actually make money from what it is that you love. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is like kind of a newish format for me. I just need to get videos out there, and I just figured this is just a nice little place to get started. So as mentioned, my name is Gwethan. I'm the founder of Hendrick. If you're still here, congratulations, you have just educated yourself, and I am extremely proud of you. If you want more of my help to build an actual music business for yourself, apply in the link in the description below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.